Section D, sum to product and product to sum formulas.
Sum to product and product to sum formulas are just as exciting as they sound. Oh yeah. Now, you're going to have to know them and be able to use them in trig and eventually in calculus. And like the half angle, double angle, and sum and difference formulas, knowing these formulas is going to make it a lot easier on you when you have to prove an identity. We'll get to those in a minute. First, we'll fill you in on the formulas, and then we'll explain them.
Here's the first one. The sine of alpha times the sine of beta equals 1/2 times the cosine of alpha minus beta minus the cosine of alpha plus beta. There's also the cosine of alpha times the cosine of beta is equal to 1/2 times the cosine of alpha minus beta plus the cosine of alpha plus beta. The third formula is the sine of alpha times the cosine of beta is equal to 1/2 times the sine of alpha plus beta plus the sine of alpha minus beta. Lastly, the cosine of alpha times the sine of beta equals 1/2 times the sine of alpha plus beta minus the sine of alpha minus beta.
So, how do you use them? Notice that the left side of each of these formulas involves a product, and the right side is a sum, or difference. That's why they're called the product to sum formulas.
Take a look at the formulas again.
For each of these formulas, you're going to be given the values for the left side of the equation and have to express them in the form of the right side of the equation.
This probably sounds like a lot of gibberish, but don't fret. We look at a problem that might show up on your exam to explain what we mean.
You're asked to express the cosine of 7x times the sine of 4x as a sum or difference.
So which product to sum formula do you use?
For this problem, you use the fourth formula. The cosine of alpha times the sine of beta equals 1/2 the sine of alpha plus beta minus the sine of alpha minus beta. Why this formula and not another one? Because you're asked to express a cosine value times a sine amount. Think of the first value you're given as alpha and the second as beta. Like, if you'd been given a sine value times a cosine amount, you would use the third formula, because the product side of the equation is sine times cosine. For our problem, alpha equals 7x and beta equals 4x.
Okay, you've got your formula. Your next step is to stick in 7x every time you see alpha and 4x for every time beta appears.
So our problem now reads, the cosine of 7x times the sine of 4x equals 1/2 times the sine of 7x plus 4x minus the sine of 7x minus 4x. Like living in a monastery, you succeed in math land if you keep things as simple as possible. So let's simplify the right side of the equation as much as possible.
7x plus 4x equals 11x, and 7x minus 4x equals 3x. Our last step is to multiply 1/2 times the sine of 11x and the sine of 3x. That leaves us with 1/2 times the sine of 11x minus 1/2 times the sine of 3x. And that's it. We've expressed the cosine of 7x times the sine of 4x as a difference.
Okay, that gives you a taste of product to sum formulas. Now, let's check on the sum to product formulas.
The sine of alpha plus the sine of beta equals 2 times the sine of alpha plus beta over 2 times the cosine of alpha minus beta over 2. The second formula is the sine of alpha minus the sine of beta is equal to 2 times the cosine of alpha plus beta over 2 times the sine of alpha minus beta over 2. Next is the cosine of alpha plus the cosine of beta equals 2 times the cosine of alpha plus beta over 2 times the cosine of alpha minus beta over 2. The last formula is the cosine of alpha minus the cosine of beta is equal to -2 times the sine of alpha plus beta over 2 times the sine of alpha minus beta over 2. Notice that the left side involves a sum or difference, and the right side is a product. That's why they're called sum to product formulas. Now let's do an example using a sum to product formula. Just like product to sum formulas, you'll be given the values on the left side of the equation and put them into the expression on the right side of the equation.
Here's your problem. You must express the sine of 9x plus the sine of 5x as a product, so you have to use the first formula. Why? Because you're given a sine value plus another sine value. Remember to just think of the first given value as alpha and the second as beta.
We stick in 9x for every alpha and 5x for every beta in the formula. We get the sine of 9x plus the sine of 5x equals 2 times the sine of 9x plus 5x over 2 times the cosine of 9x minus 5x over 2. Now, we add and subtract the numerators, then divide these new numerators by 2. That gives us 2 times the sine of 7x times the cosine of 2x. We've expressed our sum as a product.
We're going into overtime.